making it feel good. Too scared to just let it go. Too scared to just let it go. Tomorrow we build. Depends on the future we want, we can make it as real. Maybe we will, though. Give up the ego. Making it feel good. Too scared to just let it go. Too scared to just let it go.
Caught up in your gravity, always end up lost in your wake. Intoxicated, maybe we can start again. Caught up in your gravity, always end up lost in your wake. Intoxicated, maybe we can start again. We can start again. We can start it.
You didn't know how bad you wanted prime rib.
I've been running on coffee and cigarettes, waiting all day for you, and then now you come with new regrets. But I can't stand to be
Hello.
I'm gonna pop in RT. That's true. That's very true. Also, for any of you guys that can hear me while the songs are transitioning, do I sound too quiet? Not loud enough? Too loud? Just let me know so I can tone my microphone volume down. So, thanks, guys. All right, everyone. Let's welcome. That was kind of perfect timing. I did not plan that at all, but that's just how that one worked out. So welcome everyone to another episode of MPC Overtime. And this week I have two amazing guests with me. So if they want to introduce themselves right now.
Doc, you can go first.
Not all at once.
Well, I'm Game Time. I'm the manager of the Philadelphia Vipers.
All right. And Doc, are you with us right now? Okay. It's all right. There he is.
Oh, there
Sorry,
he is.
my kid's been screaming his head off, so I had to deal with that.
You're fine. Just go ahead and introduce yourself real quick. Say, what your position is and stuff like that.
I'm not
Come here.
gonna see your bags.
Okay, I'm Doc. I am the team manager of the Boston Revolt,
Awesome.
and yeah,
All right, beautiful. All right, so some things we have like a general idea of what's gonna happen this episode. So first of all, we are gonna do something a little special. So for those of you that are players, you saw that there was a little debacle with the Orbit and Sharks seeding because they hadn't played each other yet, and they are tied in game differential. We were going to originally have them play a best of 3 before the midseason to determine their proper seeding. However, the Sharks are pretty adamant about not playing that game. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave it completely to chance, and we're going to flip a coin. And I've decided to do that on stream. That way we make it crystal clear that there is no rigging going on. It is completely random. So I'm going to do that now. Let's see if
We are the lucky ones.
we are going to see who is the lucky one, because I believe whoever is basically to figure out who's going to play the Revolt and who's going to play
The ice.
the ice. It's going to be a wheel spin on screen. That's what I'm going to do for you right now, Artsy. So
just for Artsy. Just for Artsy.
yeah, just for Artsy. All right. Let's see if I do this right. Haha,
Nope.
look at that. I'm a genius.
Let me see.
All right.
Let me see if you did
so-
it right. Oh yeah, you did.
All right.
Ah!
So as you can see on screen, I have a 50-50 spinner. I've spun this thing like 8 times beforehand to make sure it's not like there's no kind of like first second bias in the script or anything like that. All right. So I guess the only thing we can do now is spin the wheel. Now remember, this is going to determine who gets 5th. If it lands on Orbit, it's going to essentially stay the way it is. But if it lands on the Sharks, they will be inheriting the 5th seed. So
So they'll be playing the ice, correct?
yes. So there is nothing else to do but spin the wheel.
Oh god.
Drum wheel. my incoherent drum roll. And
There
we go.
Stays the same.
it is the Orbit. So the Orbit will be keeping the 5th seed. I like how it has the clap sound effect.
I love
in the
how
background.
it says we have a winner.
We have a winner. So the Orbit will be remaining in the 5th seed, and the Sharks will stay in the 6th seed. So nothing has changed. So everything will be staying the way it is. So now that we got that out of the way, back to overtime screen and get rid of that. As you can see, some of the other tabs might be some alluding to some stuff we might talk about later.
I love this. I love this Artsy and and Herb talk.
Yeah.
Artsy 40-minute overtime. I would hate to see that.
All right. So now first thing we should talk about is a recap of week 6, because it was certainly interesting. I'll say it was certainly very interesting. So let's go ahead and go over that real quick. I'm going to transition again because, fancy like that.
Fancy, fancy, fancy.
All right. So, as we can see, week 6 was a little interesting. And definitely very unorthodox week. A lot of these games were not as close as I think a lot of people were predicting.
Or even played.
Yeah. So first things first, I guess we can just go down the list. Game time. So this game against the Ice, I'm pretty sure, I think out of the 6 people that actually did the prediction form for week 6, I think every single person had this going to 5, but you guys just came out and just absolutely annihilated them. So kind of walk us through that game a little bit. I don't know if you watched it.
I actually didn't watch it, but I was in there with Spirit.
Yeah, I mean, your boys put on one heck of a show, and I mean, it was insane to watch. So
yeah, I watched it after the fact. Like I watched I think it was like a day or two after, and they seem pretty confident going into the mid-season tournament.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one word I would use to describe that roster right now is very confident. And I mean, you guys have the results to back it up. So definitely well deserved there. It's gonna be interesting to see how the Ice, because I don't think the Ice played with their most their real starting roster.
They didn't play with Squintle. That's who they were missing.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how they bounce back going into the tournament, because now that they're kind of middle of the pack after that, I mean, realistically the door's wide open for a lot of these teams. So Dooc actually going into this next match against the Revolt, or not the, oh my gosh, you are the Revolt.
Nice one.
Nice one. So this next match against the Thrashers. So you guys actually ended up sweeping them, which is pretty big. So kind of walk me through. Did you guys prep a lot for this match, or?
No, not really. I mean, me being West, our schedule's kind of. It's hard for me to get on exactly when everyone else gets on.
Mm-hmm.
So playing together doesn't happen as much as I want to.
Yeah.
But no, they were still pretty solid even without Atlas. But I do think with them not having Atlas really hinders them.
Mm-hmm.
And then also not having a fourth. So it's just they actually had to get a ringer. So they didn't have their 3 normal players, because I think Maddie was... He literally got on right after we finished the series.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
But yeah, overall they're still pretty solid, still pretty close, but we were still able to pull it out.
Nice. Sorry, I'm just adjusting a little couple levels here. So yeah, let's talk about. I'll kind of run through these other games. I know streaming was a little weird this weekend. Normally we'd have Trigger and stuff, and obviously Dooc, you helped us out a lot with some of the games as well on the streaming end. Normally we'd have Trigger to help us out, but he I believe had a tournament with his team this weekend. So obviously we were do that. That's much more important. So Thunder Aces game, I caught a little bit. I believe this is the episode, or this is the game that was going on while we were streaming our last episode of Overtime, and so I think it was Rebel was giving us game updates from the scoreline, and I think everyone thought this was probably going to be a sweep. And as we saw today, T-Man dropped himself as a active player from the roster and will be just managing, because I believe he was saying he was having hardware issues, so he hasn't been able to play in 3 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see what that team decides to do, especially with this essentially bye week to kind of recuperate, reset as a team. And I'd say the same thing for the Hunters too, because obviously the Hunters picked up Otto. Everyone saw. Everyone was rallying behind this kid, and I really am excited to see the Hunters actually play a game.
Otto has a chance.
Otto has gotten his chance. So the prediction that of last episode has come to life. The script is the Church of Otto. Yeah, literally all it says is just the Church of Otto. But I mean, there's not really too much to talk about. I think the Deadeye Sharks game was pretty interesting. I thought that might have gone to 5 as well, but it was arguably the closest game we had all weekend, which is pretty crazy. So I don't know, man. I think it's going to be really interesting going into the midseason tournament, because I think there was a lot of just craziness this week, I think is probably the best way to describe it. with like schedules not working out, scheduling can't happen, like rescheduling not being able to happen, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
a lot of chaos and, just unfortunate. But I mean, at the end of the day, like these midseason tournament games and these nationals games, like you can't reschedule these. Like these games, you have to show up and play. So, sometimes it might be a wake up call for some of these teams to realize like, hey, if we can't play at these times, long run, it might not be, we might have to change some things up. But,
Yeah.
looks like that is going to be wrapping it up for week 6. I wish there was more to talk about, really, but I mean, like I said, most of these games were sweeps or 3-1s, and 2 of the games we didn't even get to see, so not really too much I can talk about there. So our next order of business, is going to be the midseason tournament. Yeah.
Yes, the best topic to talk about right now.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting. So I can show you guys.
We would love to see the standings too. Have you seen the standings?
Yeah, the standings are insane right now. Like, here I can show you guys real quick. Hold on. I can't dox myself. Sorry, chat. So here I can show you guys.
Top tab of Google Docs for Viper. Viper, what you got for the top tabs?
Yeah, so as you can see, we had almost a 7-way tie, which was insane to think about. Like, I remember like after these games like went out, Octo had DM'd me and he was like, dude, there's a 7-way tie. And I was like, what do you mean there's a 7-way tie? Like, that's insane. Like, literally, we have never seen anything like that before. Because if you remember, any of you guys that were with us last season, like, around this time, we didn't have a midseason tournament. But there was a very clear, like, distinction between the top and the bottom of the league. And, like, this season, there's not really anything like that, which is kind of insane. Like, yeah, they're, like, near the bottom, you might see some teams that are really struggling. But, I mean, besides that, everyone's pretty close, which I think is going to make, especially this midseason, like, really, really hard to predict. Because I think on a good day, any of these teams can beat each other, which is, like, crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting because all the teams are so different now.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Especially
It's literally like just a toss-up in the air at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy to me that like
there was like some team shakeups last season, but this season it's like every single team for the most part is different.
Mm-hmm. I think honestly, like most of these changes have been, I don't want to say for the better, but it's definitely made a lot of these teams more competitive. Like I remember, like especially like take the Orbit for example. They were a team that everyone wrote off in the beginning of the season. They were like, oh, this team's probably like 10th, 11th, and they're just not going to make it. But here they are in 5th place. So
look, my team's still tied for first place.
Yep.
Or thought we were going to be bottom, and I still have the same roster as we started, except for Maine. But that's a different. That was just a trade. It wasn't a team shakeup though.
Yeah, and I mean both of you guys are really near the top, and I mean I guess game time. You guys only made one change as well, right? Well, I guess technically 2 since the draft.
Yeah,
but
technically 2. Yeah,
one of those was out of your control. So.
Yeah. Yeah. The one major change was dropping myself and picking up young blood.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly gave us more confidence than what we had before, and I've been seeing it. They've been doing pretty good together. They all play together. They do everything, so it's been pretty good. I also wanted to comment on what Archie said. Last Wednesday, I actually did call there was going to be a 7-way tie going into the midseason tournament. So it might be just a little bit of my fault.
You may have predictioned us a little too well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean that's pretty much it for the standings. I mean, like you can see, technically there's 7 rosters with the same record, which is, I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that like it's that close. So Actually, I guess I can stay on the other screen because we can talk about the midseason tournament. So
which is
this is the bracket. For those of you that will be listening to this, so we have the Halos are going to be versing the Thunder. The Ice are going to be facing the Orbit. The Vipers are going to be facing the Thrashers, and the Revolt will be facing the Sharks. So I guess let's kind of walk through each of these matches. So obviously, like the last two, you guys are both part of, so it's going to be obvious. It's going to obviously you guys are going to have a little bias. But let's talk about this first match because I think this match has the potential to be a lot more interesting than people think. So Halos versus Thunder. What do you guys think?
I mean, from when we watched it was still a really close match until Banter basically threw because he had to leave. But honestly, if he was still there, who knows what would have happened? And if he was actually not rushing himself.
Yeah, because I mean, they looked dominant like those first two games, and then I don't know what happened, but the Thunder just kind of flipped a switch, and it was like a totally different game for that team. Game time. What about you? What do you think?
I feel like it would definitely be a close match. Banter is one of my good friends, and so all week he's been talking about how we're not going to make the finals. So I mean, I'm hoping they win, but at the same time, I think it's going to be very, very close, and I would like to see the Thunder win, if anything.
All right, so I guess are you saying that you
like
if you were to predict like which
if
team?
if I were to really predict, I'd say the Halos will win it, but it's going to be very close.
All right, what about you, Doc? What do you think?
I feel the same. It's going to be the rematch it's going to be the game that we actually wanted to see this last weekend, without somebody having to rush out.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone like rushing and basically kind of throwing just because they have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll hopefully be the game that we win, but I still think the Halos might pull it if they keep that same way they played the first two games.
Yeah,
and then not falling apart at the end. They can keep that up, they'll win for sure. But it'll still be close.
All right. So this next match we have the Ice versus the Orbit. Now, I'm sure everyone remembers this game. If you don't remember, there's a little bit of drama behind this one.
This is when the thing happened.
Yeah. So
the first time.
Yeah.
I want to know what thing.
Salary, the 25 salary thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
The little mix-up happened here. The Orbit took this game 3-1, but the Ice did not field their best roster, even then. So it's going to be interesting to see this rematch with both teams playing their best rosters forward. So I think, I don't know, man. Like the Orbit have been looking really good recently. That game 5 against the Deadeyes like might have concerned some people, but I don't know. Like I think this match is definitely a coin toss. No pun intended, but I definitely think that this could be a coin toss game. But I'd probably have to give the edge to Ice, but barely, literally a knife's edge.
I disagree. I'm gonna go more Orbit. If they played the way that they did against the Deadeyes, then I don't think if the Ice, they might. I think it's gonna be close, but I still think it's gonna be the Orbit coming out.
All right. What about you, Game Time?
It's gonna be another close one. I've been seeing how the Orbit's been playing. They've been playing pretty solid. And I want to see the Orbit win it.
All right, so you guys are gonna give the edge to the Orbit there. All right, so obviously these next two matches are gonna be a little interesting from y'all's perspective. So Vipers Thrashers. Now, obviously we know that the Thrashers are coming in with a little bit of a not top performing roster, like not their peak roster ever since Atlas had to leave. So do we think that the Thrashers even have a chance here, or do we think that this is just going to be a clean sweep for the Vipers?
I feel the Vipers are just gonna beat the Thrashers. So both Slick and PC, both my teammates, are friends with Youngblood, and they know him very well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the addition of Youngblood has really upped their roster a ton. So I think the Thrashers might get a game,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't. It'd be at best 3-1 probably.
Okay.
I mean, them not having Atlas is really a hindrance, like right now.
Yeah. All right. So, game time. Do you have any thoughts? Because I know obviously, like, this is probably a obvious win for you guys in your eyes, because I'd be very concerned if you voted against your team. So.
No, definitely voting against my team. No, I'm kidding. I mean, my team's looking very confident. We've talked about like how confident we are and like how like we've been building together. They've been doing pretty solid. So I'd say, I mean, not to give the edge to my team or anything, but I'll say I'll give Thrashers at most a game.
All right. So the next matchup, Revolt versus Sharks. Now, Dooc, so I got to level with you. The Sharks were very adamant about not playing the best of 3 against the Orbit because they wanted to keep this seeding, because they felt like you guys were a better opponent. So, what are you thinking going into this game? Because those to me are some fighting words.
Yeah, that sounded really disrespectful when I heard it, but whatever. Honestly, even though they beat us 3-1, the first game, yeah, they blew us out. It was a brand new team. We'd never seen it before. We never even scrimmed this team. So we didn't know what to expect. So we got blown out the first game. And then after that, we started stepping up. Yeah, we lost 3-1, but I think we're better prepared this time to play them. But I mean, yeah, I don't want to go to a team, so I would do 3-2 at most. They take it to game 5. We basically did. I think we messed something up. I forgot what we did. I think it was either me or most likely me messed something up, and we got scored on in the last game because we kept it really close. The last 3 games, it took one. So right. I mean, if we can keep consistent, try to limit mistakes, they're an easily beatable team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be easy, but they can be beaten.
All right. What about you, Game Time? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I mean, if there's like drama behind this, I love drama, and
I wouldn't call it drama per se. I don't think it's
or is I mean, like if there's
some
banter. Yeah. If there's banter, I know I love banter, and honestly, I haven't played either of these teams, so I want to play the Revolt.
All
so
right.
I'd say close 3-2 goes to Revolt.
All right. I guess I can talk about what I put down as my predictions. So you kind of saw a spoiler there for a second.
Okay, I gotta leave.
So, like you said, I do think that this Revolt... Now, then again, this was also before we determined seeding, so I wasn't sure where the Orbit and the Sharks were going to flip. So, I will say that. But I do think your Revolt game is going to be very close. Like, I don't know. I just think that game is going to be super close, but I think everything else we pretty much agreed on. Except I think I picked Ice instead of Orbit. So this is what I had. So obviously for the semifinals, you guys had Orbit Halos, right? So do you guys think Halos take that game?
Well, yeah, Doc, you go first.
It's hard because with the main thing is, as long as banter plays, they have a huge advantage. The second banter is not in a game,
Mm-hmm.
their advantage is gone. We saw that when banter didn't play at all, and they got, I forget what
They play the
yeah.
Thrashers and they got 3-1'd.
Okay. Yeah, it's much more difficult without banter.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they have him and he's not rushing himself out,
Yeah.
they're gonna be tough to beat in the first place.
So with that in mind, do we think that well, I guess you guys both said the Orbit, right? So do we think that the Orbit have a chance of upsetting here? Or
It's Rocket League. There's always a chance.
That's true.
You never
especially
know.
now.
I'm gonna go out of the limb and say if Banter doesn't play the whole, like, let's say he doesn't play the whole mid-season tournament, I'd say there's a chance of the Orbit pulling out something great.
But if he does, then
if he does, then it would be tough for them to beat. Like,
okay.
Halos with Banter is it's just like it's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's hard.
Mm.
It's
I see.
way too
Octo.
hard.
No matter what you think or predict, you never know what the hell's gonna happen with
That's
these games.
true.
That's
true.
That's also true.
I think that's kind of the beauty of this league is that sometimes you just never know what's gonna happen.
Unlike last season where you kind of
You kinda knew.
someone's gonna win.
Yeah.
This one it's
especially-
been different.
Yeah, especially after week 4. I think last season pretty much everyone was solidified in where they were at. Also, Octo saying he's got the orcas popping off. That's some season 1 lore right there. If any of you season 1 veterans, you'll recognize that. So this next match, I had the Sharks winning instead of the Revolt, but I could easily see the Revolt winning as well. So Vipers Revolt. Now this game, obviously, both of you guys. So I know that you're gonna root for your own teams here. But I think I have the Vipers edging it out. But I mean, this is gonna be a best of 7, so it's gonna be a long haul game. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how both y'all's teams play in like longer series.
Oh, all of them are best of 7?
No, so
I didn't-
round 1 is best of 5.
Oh,
and
just
then,
semis.
Yeah,
Okay.
semis
5,
and
7,
finals
7.
are both best of 7. So that's all on the master sheet too. So
Look, I didn't read them that much right there. I didn't read about the tournament as much.
hey, listen, we say hey,
I read about everything else.
hey,
he
listen.
just looked at the standings.
He was like, I'm in it. Okay, good. Next. So this game I think is going to be like that's the thing. I feel like a broken record, but when I say all these games are going to be close, but I legitimately do believe that. I could easily see this game between you guys going the distance, but like I said, man,
there's a but in there, and
hey, I mean, you can see clearly that I put the Vipers going to the finals. But I do think this is going to be a really close game, and I could easily see either of you guys winning. So I'm really excited to see this game, because like we said, we're gonna have all these games streamed, so it's gonna be good.
Honestly, there's been a lot of banter with American Banter and Herb saying that we wouldn't make the finals, but I would love to see them in the finals just so we could show them what's been going on. Because I think we faced them week 1.
I believe so.
And we didn't have
I can check
a full roster. We had Cast as our ringer, and it was me and Artie, I believe. And now that we have...
No, it was you guys played week
2, right? 2 or 3? 3?
Three.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
week 3,
there we go.
Yeah. Week 3, we still didn't even have a full roster.
Mm-hmm.
Did we?
I don't believe so. But
I don't think so. But we still didn't have a full roster, and it was still pretty good. We've just I don't know. We weren't prepared enough. I guess I should say we weren't prepared enough. But now that we have a full roster, we know like exactly how everyone plays and everything, and
Mhm.
I think we'll pull it out this time.
All right. I like the confidence. So obviously, like, I have the Vipers Halos matchup up in the final. So I guess I think this is interesting. I honestly think this right here could be like, you can make an argument that Orbit Dead Eyes was like the match of the season so far, but I think this has the potential to top it. Just because there's going to be so many skilled players. I mean, obviously, like, you guys will have played hard to get to this position. Because remember, I mean, even if you only win one match in this series, that's still an extra win added to your record. And if you win this whole thing, that's 3 wins added to your record, which is like gonna be crazy for standings. Which is, if a team like the Thunder comes out of nowhere and they just run the bracket, them getting 3 wins at 8th seed is gonna be huge for them.
Definitely.
But I mean, obviously we want to give everyone something to play for, which is the whole reason we incorporated something like this into this season. And so wins are going to matter. Every team is going to make it into the final playoffs, but seeding is a big thing. If you make it in top 4, you get a bye, which is huge. So I'm excited to see how this tournament's going to play out. I'm not going to use this to run the midseason. We're still going to use what we have in the master sheet right here. This is what we're going to use. So you'll notice stream A and stream B, to clarify that part, we are going to hopefully have 2 streams going.
Oh yeah, okay.
So obviously, like, Octos will probably be running the stream on Friday. This was more of a test to see if I knew what I was doing. So this is not going to be a regular thing for me hosting through MPC. But Octo will probably be streaming on Friday. And then we're going to figure out who our second streamer is going to be for Friday as well. And that will have the other game going on. That way, we're getting as much Rocket League to you guys as we can on stream, getting some people some exposure, all that stuff. So, yeah, you can see 2 games on Saturday and then Championship Sunday. That is going to be the only game played. The only reason that might get rescheduled is if both teams agree to push it back to like 9 p.m. instead or something. Like I said, it doesn't really matter to me, but we can't play this on a day that's not that Sunday. So, All right. So as you can see, now that the standings are pretty much locked in, if the Orbit and the Blaze actually end up playing their game before Friday, then things might change a little bit. But I mean, things are pretty much solidified the way they are now. I don't know what this cursed text is over here. But this is going to be the bracket. I'm going to send this link out at the end of this episode.
Without the cursed text there.
Yeah, well, I'll send this challenge bracket out. That way you guys can do your predictions. Obviously, like, it's harder for me to do a prediction form because that's a lot of moving parts. So I was like, I'll just do this, and then there's going to be a point system, and whoever has the most points, obviously, like, you'll get a prediction oracle. So now that I'm done ranting about how the midseason is going to work, we are going to try and answer some questions from chat.
Oh yeah, I like questions.
So first of all, I'm gonna take RC looks like he's gonna
RC's gonna
have
hit us
some
with like
spicy
10 different
announcements.
questions. RC with 10 different questions. I got it.
All right, hold on. Herb, when are you getting on overtime? Remember our golden rule, buddy. If you ask, you're never gonna get on. So I'm gonna take some questions from the OT channel. Let's see. Banter says, why are the Vipers gonna get first rounded in the midseason?
Wow. It's actually pretty funny because I saw that. I'm pretty sure RT sent it to the Vipers, like in our group chat we have, and I asked him, I was like, where is that at? Because I want to see it. Because I want to quote Banter on it and ask him what happens if they get first rounded.
So you answered the question with a question. Smart. All All right, so Otto asked, who does he think is going to win the midseason tournament? So I'll be honest, I put the Halos to win. But what do you guys think? Obviously, game time, you think that your team is going to win.
It depends on who gets there.
I mean, that's,
That's
true.
true.
Okay, but
Very true.
that's not a fun answer, Doc.
All right. Let's put it like this. Doc.
Part 34.
If let's say I'm not gonna like full on say this, but let's say Halos versus Vipers finals.
That's the finals. Again, depends. I don't know. It's gonna be a game 5 at least.
Well,
Unless
game 7.
No, 7. Yeah, 7. I forgot about 7. Look, I'm so used to 5s.
No, definitely used to 5s. I mean,
So
But
you think
for
game
that-
7, but who wins the game 7?
that's the bigger question. Who wins?
I mean, for this, we don't know how the teams played against each other yet, but just based off pure rank right now, I would have to go with the Vipers.
Okay.
I'd say game 7, but
All
Vipers
right.
would pull it. Maybe, no, I'd probably do 4-2 based on just pure rank.
All right. Herb asked when he's getting on the show again. I answered that. Don't ask or you won't get on. I'm sorry. D Wolf asked, I don't know if it's really an OT question, but is there going to be an all-star game? We hope so. So we hope that there's going to be an all-star game. We'd like to do one, but there's a lot of logistics stuff that we have to work out to do that, like all-star voting and stuff like that. So we
That would be
maybe
pretty cool.
can. We'd like to do something
be
like
pretty
that.
cool.
We at least want to do like season MVPs and like awards and accolades and stuff like that. So we at least want to do that. Let's see. That's more than talking about the All-Star games. An All-Star game for each rank set, I think, would just be too difficult. Like that's way too much work that we'd have to do. Let's see. Will Fennec be banned from the league as pay to win? No. Hey, listen, man. I want to see somebody play with a Batmobile. I used to be a Batmobile man like 2 seasons ago. So I want to see
I
some
can't
Batmobile
even get
play.
a Batmobile.
I can't either.
I want to see some more pancake cars.
Hold on. RT asked in chat, which of the bottom 4 teams will bounce back post mid-season?
I think all of them have the potential to. I think the Blaze aren't really a bottom 4 team. I think they just got really unlucky. Their situation with the Orbit game was really unfortunate. So I think they're better than their standings show. And I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams in the next few weeks. So do not underestimate the Blaze, seriously. Like, they are looking really strong.
I want to say the Hunters, since they gave Otto a chance, I feel like they'll bounce back.
See, that's the thing, right? I think my issue with the Hunters is, like, I would have more stock on them if they, like, played their games. Because I think that was the biggest issue is, like, you can't really get a read on this Hunters roster because they really only played, like, 3 games. And those games
Yeah.
are actually kind of close.
And those rosters aren't even around anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean...
It's been like 3 different rosters. Like,
Yeah.
this is the 3rd roster.
It's been really unfortunate, but I'm hoping now that with the pickup of Otto, this team's going to finally stabilize and they're going to come out, because I think now the question is who is going to be their first win. Because
That is
and it's going to be
great
interesting.
question.
I think it's a really interesting question. But the Aces, I'm interested to see with T-Man dropping himself. That's a lot of salary space he freed up, so it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. The Deadeyes obviously barely missed because they lost in week 6, unfortunately, to the Sharks. But yeah, out of all 4 of these teams, I do think the Blaze are probably have the most potential. Because I think the Deadeyes are going to make a lot of changes. So that's what I would say at least. Octo, why don't I stream some games? Because I'm on a different computer today. That's why I could even do this in the first place. I'm using my brother's supercomputer right now. Instead of everything, I normally do everything on a laptop. So, my brother's a firefighter, so whenever he works, he's gone for the whole day. So I use his computer while he's at work.
That makes sense.
And I helped my man build a monster computer. So that's what I use. That's what I'm using right now. Trust me, man. I want to build a PC so badly. It's just that costs money, and I want to wait until the new AMD CPUs come out and stuff before I even consider like part picking and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's what I would say to that. And the hunters we talked about. So, does anyone else have any more questions? I guess because we can probably wrap this up soon. I mean, we've been going for a little while. Episode is a little shorter just because there wasn't as much to talk about, I think. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 forfeits, so
I think next week's episode is going to be very interesting once the dust has settled
Very
from
interesting.
Midseason.
Yeah, definitely interesting. The Avion.
Spoiler, dude. I don't know.
Wait,
Avion,
which
I will not answer those questions, Avion. I told you, we'll make a channel point reward.
RC.
Or
enemies.
what I'll do for the last episode of Overtime this season is I'll do what I did last season and I'll get in suit for the Overtime episode. Just to invoke Octo's just cringe factor up to 11. I'll do that for him. But that's for another time. Who do we think we win the Nationals? We talked about it a little earlier, Otto.
I think that was the midseason though.
Oh, who do we think will win Nationals? I think it's way too early.
Nationals. Yeah,
I'd be able
Nationals
to.
is early.
I'd be able to tell after midseason. I think I'd have a better idea, but it's way too early to tell right now.
Get the suit.
I will. Last episode of this season for Overtime, I will do it in suit, I promise. Or I'll do the postseason Overtime episode, whichever is easier. But yeah, I think with that one, that's going to be it for us. So thank you guys so much. Dooc and GameTime, thank you guys so much for coming on pretty much last minute.
Sure.
I know this was really like a scramble to get this together, but I wanted to get an Overtime episode out this week because it's before the midseason, so I figured it was pretty important. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me. Dooc, do you have any final words you want to say?
no.
Okay, good talk. Man, a few words. I like it. What about you, GameTime? What do you have to say?
Just good luck to every team. And thanks for having me.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys in chat for watching. Appreciate you guys still chatting, staying involved. I think after midseason, we might try to do a new power rankings sheet or survey or something like that, just to see what people think. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And also I will post the bracket link that I showed so that you guys can do your own predictions. And that's how I'll be handing out Prediction Oracle for midseason. And then once week 7 starts, I'll be back to regular prediction forums and stuff like that, so you don't have to worry about that. And thanks so much, everyone, for watching. And this episode will be on Spotify as soon as I can get it uploaded, probably tomorrow. So you don't have to worry about that. And until then, again, Dooc, GameTime, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope I did a good job hosting.
Definitely did.
And thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.